Welcome to another episode of Throne Mastermind Sessions. The session is beginning. All members are now expected to assume position on their throne.
Greetings, everyone. Greetings. Welcome to another episode of Throne Mastermind Sessions. This is Eli Markus, and today I'm going to be lecturing on the topic of kingdom principles. Kingdom principles. So, I'm sure we have all watched movies, TV shows, or have read in the history books about kingdoms. We have all read about famous kings and queens, and we've heard the stories about kings and queens. And no matter where in history you read the story, or even if it was not a true story, when we're talking about the kingdom and the character of the king or the queen in the kingdom, they all have strikingly similar protocols, strikingly similar ways of being treated, patterns of decorum, a certain level of esteem and respect for them, a certain level of treatment that they receive because they are the king and the queen. And all of the participants in that reality agree that they are the king, they are the queen, and they are to be treated with a certain level of respect and a certain level of decorum. We've seen it. There's a famous show called Game of Thrones. I'm sure we have a lot of Game of Thrones fans who are listening. And no matter what kingdom was being shown, strikingly similar lifestyles, protocols, and ways that they're treated. You know when the king is the king, you know when the queen is the queen. You can't just access the king or queen. That's one way that you know when someone is operating in kingdom principles. When someone is of royal blood, of royal position. You can't just be a commoner and just access them. You can't even be a noble outsider and just access them how and when and where you want to. You can't just interact with them. You have to go through a set of protocols to schedule an interaction with the king or queen. The king or queen, no matter what we're talking about, a real story, a fictional story, a real story in history, kings and queens move with a sense of frame. They have a frame. Imagine a frame, and there's a guard at each point of the frame. There's a boundary, there's a border at each point of the frame. And the king or queen is sitting or standing in the center of that frame on their throne. Everywhere they go, they move with their frame. They move with the frame. So before they even access a territory, the front part of their borders to the frame that they operate in initiates conversation, dialogue, course of action to whatever other territory they're going in. What do I mean by that? Before a king or queen of another kingdom visits a different kingdom or a different territory, they are visited by the king or queen's messenger or ambassador or representative, right? Hello, king or queen so-and-so would like to visit the lands to have a meeting with the king and queen of this land or for some other purpose. What is the protocols for us to make this happen? They would like to visit on this date at this time, etc. Right? And they start a dialogue with the foreign territory. And the foreign territory communicates to the government or to the king or queen of that land to allow for a meeting. And why am I saying this? Because I'm going somewhere with this. Many people say, well, that was back in the olden days. Kings and queens don't exist. Everybody's just a regular person. We're all the same. And in some way, that's true. But in reality, in the way that the real world actually functions, and the power dynamics between people and groups and families in a real way, it's not true. There are some people who are granted privilege and some people who are not. There are some people who are treated as royalty just about everywhere they go. Everyone respects them at a high degree of level, at a high degree. And there are some people who get disrespected everywhere they go. This is the truth. That's how the real world operates. And that is how it has always operated. There will always be some level of hierarchy. We see this in the animal kingdom. We see this in human civilization globally. Even between tribes and groups that did not interact with each other, they all had a sense of hierarchy. They all established a sense of hierarchy. This is nature. The king or queen, on an energetic level, on a principle level, sits at the highest point of that hierarchy in representation of that kingdom. And there are certain principles that you see in the kingdom principle that no matter what you're observing, they all have that pattern, operating with a frame of border. They don't even speak for themselves. They have a representative that initiates dialogues with others for them on their behalf. Everything they do is there's a sense of protocol. And because they operate off such a strict sense of protocol, they are usually treated with high esteem and high respect when they are in the room. Because they don't go into a room where that treatment has not been solidified, where it is not literally ingrained in the very nature of that space. They just don't visit there. They don't go in those spaces. The king or queen, when we examine the principle, they are only in spaces they have some type of business with. They're only engaging and interacting with people they have some type of official business with, or for an attempt for some type of business, some sort of critical business. They interact with people, places, and things that stimulate their personal economy in some way, shape, or form. The king or queen is never just talking and having empty conversation with people who do not empower or benefit or contribute to their personal economy in the very nature of their function and their position in society. If you gain access to the king or queen, there's business being discussed. No matter what that business is, it's being discussed. Whether that business is of the world, business of the kingdom, or business of the flesh, there's official business being discussed. The king or queen speaks at the highest point of conclusion because they're taught to. It's a royal language. It's a high intelligent language, speaking at the highest point of conclusion instead of broken, fragmented pieces, wordiness, excessive wordiness, because you don't know what you want, because you're not used to saying or summoning your needs and your needs appearing. The king or queen is raised in a template to speak at the highest point of conclusion. So they speak in a rich way. They speak in an abundant way. They use words that carry more territory, that cover more territory without even knowing they're doing it. They structure their sentences and their paragraphs. And when you examine the words that they're using, it's always words that have like maximum territory to it. They don't use small words, small sizes. They speak in a way. They communicate in a certain way. They communicate in the language of abundance because they're used to that world. They're used to that reality. So the king or queen principles are still active today, is my point. When you think about celebrities, A-class celebrities, right? B-class celebrities. When you think about famous artists, when you think about politicians, when you think about your religious leaders in these mega churches, or even in a medium-sized church or small church, right? The pastor and the first lady, or just the first couple, the married pastoral team of that church, of that religion. They all have the kingdom principle. They all operate based on kingdom principles. When an artist is famous, they don't even have to be that famous. If they have a little bit of clout, a musical artist, when they're arranging a concert, no one's speaking directly to the artist on the other team. They have spokespersons. They have ambassadors. We would like to arrange a concert here. We're looking to fulfill this and this, that role. Or if a promoter wants to reach out to them and say, hey, we want to do a concert. What are the rates? We want to do it here. How much do you require up front, et cetera, et cetera. You don't speak directly to the person who is holding the king or king principle. You speak to their representation. You speak to their counsel. You speak to their management team. And their management team brings it to them in a way that's digestible. And they decide if they want to move forward or not. You speak to the corporation. You speak to the corporate entity, to the organizational entity. You don't speak directly to the person. I'm talking about little celebrities, y'all. I'm talking about BC class celebrities, especially A-class celebrities. When we talk about politicians, it's the same principle. They operate with the kingdom principle. You can't just pick up a phone and call your mayor, call your governor. 9.9 times out, the bigger the kingdom, the more that you're not doing that. Because they're operating with strong borders, strong boundaries, a strong frame. There is a protocol to access them, kingdom principle. Those are kingdom principles. Anything that becomes successful in the global marketplace, anything that gets that's enriching, operates within the kingdom principles. Why am I saying this? Because that's the blueprint for you. Whatever it is that you're at in life right now, in your development, the blueprint to rapidly fuel your personal evolution is operating within the kingdom principle. Kingdom principles is establishing your counsel like all kingdoms do. Establishing your protocols. Being fully formed in the marketplace in a way that is appropriate and in a way that is understood by other power players that complement your field of industry, field of organization. If you're a musical artist, you need to have promoters in your network. If you are an attorney, you need to have some kind of plug to get cases. Everything complements. Every industry has a list of sub-industries that complement its neighbor. This is why you see car washes outside of a lot of gas stations. They complement each other. Those are different businesses, but they complement each other. They do different things, but one attracts cars. The other one is looking for cars to wash. This is what I mean when I say, no matter what your field of industry or organization is, you need to identify the neighboring complements of what complements you, of what complements what you do and what you're becoming, what your end goal is. You need to have pre-written protocols and pre-written outbound strategies to expand by making an offer to groups and organizations that complement you on an ongoing basis. Literally, you have a pre-written offer that you send to what complements you, what stimulates your personal economy. This is my offer. Accept or reject. This is what we're looking for. And it's an ongoing sort of marketing effort of expansion, of your will to expand by requesting partnership, requesting cooperation, requesting collaboration on an ongoing basis, which means you do it like a machine. But this is after you establish your team, you establish your council, your management team, your boundaries, your guards, because you have to move as a frame. That's the kingdom principle. After you establish the kingdom principle, this is what you do. You have an ongoing outbound effort and request to collaborate with those who complement you, which means by them working with you, they're enriching themselves and they're enriching you. Everybody wins just by the nature of you all working with each other. Maybe they're in a line of business, and after they get done with the customer, that's the type of customer or type of user or type of audience that complements exactly what they pass the ball to you. That's another thing you see in power networks. They literally move as networks. Everything they do it together. These massive developments of malls and shopping outlets and apartment communities and housing subdivisions. Do you know these people move as networks? They go all around the country. And everywhere they go, they put a massive grocery store or commercial real estate in a subdivision on this side and another apartment, and they move as a network. The developers move as a network. The investors move as a network. The marketing team moves as a network. And they subcontract. They even have contracts with certain security, housing security companies. Because it's like this, at the end of the day, the security companies, like the Ring doorbell and the camera systems and the alarm systems, they have to compete against other security companies. So what some of these security companies do is they team up with developers who are doing massive subdivision, who are developing massive subdivisions. And they already say, hey, look, we're going to go ahead and include your security in the houses that we're building. So we don't even give the consumer a choice on which security company they want us. We don't leave it to them to decide and to add that on later. We're going to put it into this investment, and we're going to subtract it from the cost. We're going to add it into the cost of how much we're going to sell everything for to the customer, to the buyer. They come up with all kinds of ways to move as a network. Do you understand what I'm saying? But all of that is within the kingdom principle. That's what the kingdom principle is moving as a network. They probably 50, 100 deep of different companies for refrigerators. The developers putting the same kind of refrigerator in all of the units and all of the housing. See, back in the day, they would just build the subdivision and they'll leave it to the buyer, whoever wants to buy the property. You decide what alarm system you want. You decide what refrigerator brand you want to put in this house. But there are some higher end developments, because this is kingdom principle, though they actually move as a unit. They thought all of that through. They're putting the same refrigerator in all of the units. So their buddy that owns the refrigerator company is getting a massive amount of money, scoring a massive deal. He's getting like 5,000 refrigerators ordered at one time because his buddy that develops these sort of massive housing and commercial properties and subdivisions up, they score a deal with each other. And then, of course, the developer is going to get a kickback from sending all that business to his refrigerator buddy. Same concept with the alarm person, the person who owns the alarm company. or the roofing. You know what I'm saying? You understand what I'm saying when I'm talking about kingdom principle? First adopting the kingdom principle and then moving in a way where every conversation you're having with someone, in some way, it is stimulating your personal economy. You have a process to develop the connection of everything you direct your energy towards. You have a process to develop that connection to become something that is enriching to your personal economy, even if it's energetically. But it's not just empty speech. It's not just stagnation. It's not just dead air, dead space, dead skin. Just some of you got relationships in your life, and these people have been in your life for a long time. I don't care if these relationships are in person or online. And you spend a lot of time talking to these people, interacting with these people, laughing with them about different things. But there's nothing constructive about your relationship to them. There's nothing constructive going on. Your presence in their life isn't stimulating their personal economy. Their presence in your life is not stimulating your personal economy. It's just dead energy. You're just collectively directing your attention towards death, destruction, nothingness, stagnation. And of course, that materializes in your life. It reflects aspects of your life drying up because you move that way on an energetic level, as above, so below, as within, so without. We're talking about the kingdom principle. So the example I gave about a developer who develops massive subdivisions and they move as a network, everything they do, they're doing it as a network. They're thinking more and more of how to prepackage this thing to increase the value. And so they all can make more money together as a collective network, as a power network. That's a natural evolutionary process that every human being would reach if they became their higher self, their highest nature, if they maximize their productivity and maximize themselves in wisdom and understanding. They would follow that blueprint. So when you think about people who have some level of the kingdom principle that they operate in their life, I like when I go into a mega church or when I go into a church and I see like the pastor and the first lady, you know, even though it's religion, you can't help but peep the kingdom principle at play. You can't help but see how the members and the ushers are treating the pastor and the first lady and bringing them water and fanning them and just having a certain level of personal esteem. How the first lady could nod her head and she could have an usher right at their side to receive their command, their direction, their instruction. You can't help but notice that when you look at the politicians, the first family of your state or of your nation, how there's a certain level of decorum and respect and treatment. And it's all associated with their organizational economy. Because you can't activate the kingdom principle until your organizational economy is being properly stimulated by enough value being generated in it from the marketplace. It has to be fed. Your kingdom has to be fed. Money, currency, value. Every kingdom is being fed. When you think about the CEO of the company you work for and his family or her family, there's a certain level of treatment and decorum that they're treated in when they are when they throw the company barbecue or have some big event and their family is around. There's a certain level of respect and decorum that everyone has for the first family because they're grounded in the kingdom principle and they deserve to be treated that way. There's a logic to this. The logic is The CEO has built or is managing and governing this company that's feeding everyone's family. So there's a level of respect you give that person and you give their family. He's feeding them. He's allowing them to support their livelihoods, to buy their first house or to buy their second or third property, to make investments, to raise their children. That's the logic. But the kingdom principle is people who have mastered themselves on a level, who move with a certain level of principle, decorum, borders and frames, and protocols, who ensures that the conversations and the energy that they're outputting, the energy that they're giving to anyone, that they have some kind of business to discuss to support the organizational economy that they have established. No one who has the kingdom principle is just wasting time talking to people, interacting with people, places and things that have no value input or no potential for value input. They're not just wasting time. Everything is associated with something that stimulates the organizational economy. Unless they're having vacation time, free time, recess time. But outside of that, everything has to do with the organizational economy. That is a kingdom principle. You can literally engineer your reality to treat you like royalty. You can engineer your reality to treat your family like royalty. And it has to do with developing the codes of the kingdom principle in which you operate in life. It has to do with developing your organizational economy. And that's easy to do if you focus your energy, you focus your intention and your mind and the way you move into that. If you stop yourself from wasting energy on people, places, and things and say, wait a minute, how does this contribute to my organizational economy? Because here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen, this is law. If you starve your organizational economy long enough, it will affect your life. It will disempower you. It will prevent you. It will take away your God-given authority. Your God-given dominion cannot be accessed when you starve your organizational economy. When you're giving too much of your energy to irrelevant things that has no alignment to your organizational economy, eventually you will starve it. And eventually you will live a disempowered life. That might look like poverty for you, or it might look like being middle class, but being stuck in a geographic territory that you don't want to be in and not having access to control your destiny. Either way is disempowerment. Disempowerment is the consequence for starving your organizational economy. Ask yourself when you're talking to people. Ask yourself when you're doing things, how is this contributing to my organizational economy? Because if your organizational economy is properly assembled, which means it has as many profitable access points that it can have, it's making money, it's actively marketing, it's actively making proposals to who or to what that's in possible alignment with its goals. It's actively developing profit producing and value producing relationships with those and who complements its organizational economy. Everything you put into your organizational economy should give you a return on investment. That's the whole purpose of it. That's why you don't need to be talking to people who ain't talking about nothing. That's why you don't need to be doing things that's just like idle time. It's nothing. It means nothing. And here's the thing. You can still live a great life. You can still live a fun life. In fact, you live a greater life. You live a more fun life when you operate on kingdom principles. You have a more full and stimulating time when you operate on kingdom principles, because those are all privileges. And kingdom principles allows you to preserve and promote the exact life experience that you want. But you got to feed the kingdom principles first, the organizational economy first. You got to feed it, and it will protect you, and it will elevate you, and it allows you access to your God-given dominion over the earth. Kingdoms are yet alive in 2025. As I'm recording this audio, kingdoms are real. Kings are real. Queens are real. They walk amongst us today. On some level, there are many people who are operating in the kingdom principle. And if you were a fly on the wall in their life, in their field of reality, you would be convinced like this person is a king. This person is a queen, a real life king, a real life queen. Everywhere they go. And when they take their family on vacation to a 5-star hotel or to a 5-star resort or whatever, that resort is already trained on how to treat people who are of the kingdom principle. Because the hotel or the resort pricing and the quality of that environment was literally designed to treat people and networks of the kingdom principle on the higher end. It's all in alignment. So they already know how to treat you. They already know how to treat your wife and your husband and your children. That's what you pay for at that level. The way they treat you will be in alignment with how you are treated in your home base when you're in your own kingdom's territory. People who are operating at a high level in the kingdom principle, they literally only move from one territory to the other territory within the protocols that ensures excellent treatment, security, quality. That ensures those basic things that kingdom principle people want. They don't interact with the commoners. Who are at a high level in the kingdom principle. They can't. And if they do, it's highly contained, controlled, secured. But they're not just out in the wild, in the raw with the commoners, with the wildlings who ain't got no sense of protocol about. I don't care how innocent you are. I don't care how victimized the marketplace has been to you. There are consequences for having a weak family and coming from a weak family and practicing weak values. There are consequences for being a lone wolf or just having a weak tribe. And those consequences are often you are just exposed to everything disgusting and predatory and harsh about the open market. Kingdom principle people are not there. Every space they move into, there is a protocol to ensure that the very basics of what they expect and require will be met if they are going to share their presence in that environment. Because their organizational economy is prosperous enough to operate at that level, that field of reality, that channel of consciousness. Glory. So this is kingdom principles. And I'm probably going to be teaching on this more. I'm going to be building on this more. But what I really want you all to focus on is on a personal level, ensuring that you're building on kingdom principles. Where's your frame? Who is your counsel? What is your goal? What is your wildest, biggest, greatest goal in this lifetime? What is your purpose? What is your vision? Whatever that is, I don't care how simple it sounds to other people. It doesn't have to be you want to walk on Mars. It doesn't have to be some crazy thing. It could just be your biggest vision is you want to be in a loving big family, and you want to be, everyone to be safe, and you want frequent adventures and frequent fulfilling and experiences. Cool. There is a neighbor to that. There is someone who is in alignment with that vision. Like I mentioned earlier about the developer of a subdivision and how they connect with people who own companies, refrigerating companies and alarm companies, and they lock in with them so they can all make money together as a network and keep doing business with each other. So regardless, you might just be the alarm system in your organizational economy. And you need to partner with a master developer who's got ambitions and plans and a vision. All you know is when your alignment with them and your presence with them and your contribution to you all's collective organizational economy and the deal that you make with them, it enriches you, it empowers you, it stabilizes you, it allows you to live out your own vision in that picture. I hope this is making sense to you. I'm talking about the kingdom principle, but I want you to, on a personal level, where's your counsel? Kingdoms have counsel. People who have the kingdom principle, they have, every single person who has the kingdom principle, they have counsel. They have a management team. They have an organizational economy. What's the mission of your organizational economy? What are you going to call your kingdom? Act like we're naming a corporation. What's the mission statement of your corporation, of your kingdom, of your personal kingdom on a very deeply personal level? And based on your mission statement, based on your vision, that will tell you what type of counsel you need to align with to support that vision. That should tell you what line of work, line of career, line of passion, body of work, function in society that they are doing, because they're going to always complement what your mission statement is in your personal economy, personal organization, personal kingdom. It's going to always be in alignment. So when I say what's your counsel, you shouldn't name someone who has no relevancy to your mission statement as a kingdom. Just some random old person you found, someone who just, says caring things to you every now and then. You have to vet them the same way you would vet someone that you hire for your executive team in a major corporation and you're the CEO. They have to have some kind of background relevancy to where you're going and what you're doing and what your vision is. And they have to have their own personal mission statement of what they're trying to achieve. And what they're trying to achieve and what you're trying to achieve should be in sync, in alignment. Glory. Name your counsel. Every kingdom has counsel. What frame are you operating in? You shouldn't just be out here annoying people and begging them to do business with you or whatever, or to rock with you. No. What is your protocol? What is the blueprint of the proper protocol after you establish your organization, your purpose, your mission, your function, how you're going to generate value, how you're going to make money in this function, making sure that it has happened before for others. We ain't pioneer nothing different. The way you're trying to generate value, it has been generated this way before. This is the blueprint of how it's done. Once you have that in place and you develop your counsel, you develop your partnerships, your contracts, you evolve. There's a blueprint for all of this. It's been done before. You don't have to do nothing different. All thoughts have been thought before. All conclusions have already been reached. All destinations are fulfilled. Glory. So you develop your team. You develop your personal team. You don't even have to tell them, hey, we're in a team, because it's an energetic thing. You develop your protocols. You develop your organization. And once you have all this developed, you go out into the marketplace. And on autopilot, like a machine, your organization in its very function should be doing outbound marketing or proposals or offers to what complements it for business. And it should have a protocol for inbound business that comes in and how to develop those relationships to become more valuable and more profitable for the organization. It all needs to make sense within this frame. And you should have dominion over the earth. This has been Eli Marcus. Thank you all for listening. I appreciate you. Have a good day. I hope that this message has in some way been beneficial to you.
This Throne Mastermind session has concluded. Visit thronemastermindsessions.com to inquire about membership and to gain access to more Throne Mastermind sessions. All members may now exit the private session.